A very good morning to you from our Trade VSA publication, or more like production. That's right. Now, we do have our MCO 3.0 that you've seen in here, and many of us are experiencing the lockdown as it is. But as of yesterday, I do see a lot of heavy traffic on the highway too. What was your experience in the first few days of our lockdown? Definitely the market has since muted. Of course, we know last Friday, as soon as the announcement was made, the market actually gapped out, but it is still holding on. Now, do take note, some of the things I have talked about earlier on Monday in our breakfast show is that our KLCI continue to be very positive, holding its support level. Of course, this morning, we will re-examine where the KLCI likely to heading, at least for the rest of the week, and what are the trade ideas we have in store for you. So join me in our breakfast show, Trading Idea with SMARTRobie. I'm your host, Martin Wong. All right, now let's look at what we have for you in store this morning in here now. Trading Idea, definitely what we have seen so far is a slew of news, especially on the oil and gas, which we will talk about it on Monday too, and also that is also impacted to the overall so-called muted oil and gas sector in here. I think you all know about this company. Is no other than Server Dynamics, and continued. This morning I have not checked what was the price, and maybe some of the audience who's listening can let me know what's the price. Did it hit another limit down, or surprisingly it will do a rebound back in there? All right, let's take a look at what we have in store. Now, definitely today is Wednesday, so Wednesday as usual we will be looking at the intermediate level. Let me just switch to a laser pointer here, and also we'll be looking at trending stocks that is actually in the midst of moving up. Compared to Monday, we'll be usually looking at Pentagon guided, which is more for the beginner. Trending stocks, if you're intermediate, you are really buying a stock that is actually moving up in what we call a stage 2 shares. All right, just keep in mind also looking at the chart setup and the new sentiment we have seen so far. All right, let's move on to what we have, and don't forget our iPad giveaway continue to be one of the promotion that we're doing, somethly benefiting for those of you who have submitted your best trade idea. You can see thanks to Hui Mei on top of me having a Grab food voucher, 50 ringgit. Thank you for your support. And those of you who have not submitted your best trade idea, please do so and check out the email from the SMARTRobie in here, and you'll find out more information how you have a chance to win that iPad giveaway, which is we are not holding it back and giving you. And also a little treat up there, you can see that poster there, that gentleman, check him out in there. I will talk about more about that gentleman later in our next coming show in here. Of course, today, let's look at our roundup head up. Of course, first thing we want to know is actually looking at our KLCI. Definitely, let's look at this morning. What is our market doing? And you can see this morning our market is up 8 points. As I said before, despite the bad news that we see, markets are not going down, and it is actually been holding up very nicely. That level in here, you can see Server Dynamic was the one that we talked about. It is up only 3 cents after being down to almost limit down, and that's what we have it is. Of course, the next question is, many of you ask, would it be a time to buy Server Dynamic? But post that in, and towards on the later part of the show, we will answer you that. We have Meridian, Sedania, LKL, FNN. The top gainers are usually the more defensive, just on top of me here. Switching to a bigger chart, you can see that. Definitely, we have the decliner, Nestle, just more decliner. MPI has made a nice green pentagon. Check out MPI if you have not. But that's a 39 ringgit share. Many of you may say, hey, this is a very expensive share, Martin. Why we want to look at it? All right, so those are what we have, but definitely looking at the Robie Pentagon guided chart, you can see we just turned green pentagon. Of course, it's not just going to shoot up, but bear in mind, if you go over to SMARTRobie on the SGX, okay, which is, you can actually change this and just go to the top part. SGX it's also turning green pentagon. Is it by coincidence? What do you think? Regionally, we have seen Singapore started to turn up, and also S&P 500 is already green. It's just that Malaysia is turning green, but because many of us, remember, our KLCR right now really driven by retail more than institutional. By the time retail get excited, guess what? That's right, you know it, right? Smart money will be taking money. This is actually the time to really go in, to really buy. And I hope that that has always been my message to you, especially what you want to do is follow the smart money. And those of you who have graduated from our master class will really know what I'm talking about. And those of you who don't know, definitely this weekend, another free workshop that we're doing, how to achieve above average return for 2021, something I'm going to share with you. Definitely it's a free workshop. Do check it out and do share that link with any of your friends or colleagues who's interested in coming and find out more about that. But let's move on to our news roundup this morning in here. Definitely is the talk of the town is continue to be more rollout, more stimulus as we head into the MCO 3.0 phase 1. Okay, hopefully this phase 1 is only 2 weeks long and not longer, okay? Because tak boleh tahan nanti, if any longer. Remember, the first MCO, we had it for 7 weeks or 47 days. And there's been a lot of talk between economists. How much money have we lost? Some are saying 1.2 billion ringgit per day. Some are saying 2.1, some saying about 3.1. But definitely it's going to be at least 1 billion considering what has stopped. The only thing that is open are very few essential services. So in here you can see this is just a summation of all the cumulative stimulus that was ongoing. And then the question you will probably ask, where is the government having money? Of course, our finance minister Tengku Zafrul said we have plenty of money. Of course, we have to issue those sukuk bond that you have seen so far, and also raising our fiscal deficit. Used to be during the old Pakatan around 3%. Now we have to raise it to be a bit higher. Having said that, is this a bad thing? Is that a good thing? But I can tell you, everybody else in the whole wide world are increasing their debt levels in here to finance many of the economic expansion like we are seeing right now. And also in the midst of the COVID-19 recovery, we have not much of a choice. We continue to support many of the SMB 40 or the B40, and many of you may have laid off during this moment in here. All right, so let's look at the what we have in store for our next news is Duo Pharma. That's right. Now Duo Pharma, if you just look at the chart here, and Duo Pharma DFAM, okay, switching to a wider chart here. Now all being said, right now it's the peak of the story, all this peak of the story in here. It's usually, this is where you get this kind of climatic volume. Now if you have gone in during the green pentagon that you see back then, you will be at least on the right hand side 14.7%. Of course, some of you may be first time using Pentagon. Then you find that, hey, is this the right time to go in? Then use the trading plan, all right? And also, please have some sort of a plan. If the trade don't work out, do some sort of an exit. But let's take a look at it. Where is Duo Pharma this morning in here? As they are rolling out more vaccine, more deals coming in. It's still holding up at that base 0.3, but right now I do see likelihood Duo Pharma is not likely to go anywhere. The key thing here is, that's right, get in before all this good news comes out. I think more and more of you will realize that. And that's always been what we talk about our agenda for 2021, training you to be a train trader and a train investor. If you've been following this show all this while inside here, thank you for really coming. We really enjoy your company, and I do hope that you really learn a lot from in here and your time not wasted with us in here. So definitely the market right now, it's not that all positive, which is good. The charts are showing it, but usually most people, beginner, they only want to get in when everything is hot. That is a time where most experts are getting out, all right? And that is why very few people make money. But you want to know how to make money, it's what we call achieving above average return. That's something you want to check out this coming Saturday in here. Let's move on to our next news. Now, next news is actually on MYEG, all right? MYEG, it is more of an online transaction company in here, and they are doing all kinds of online renewal. Let's check out MYEG. Okay, and you can see the stock prices in here. MYEG just turned green pentagon for your interest. Okay, you can see that, and since that holding up at 195, it seems to be that that 2 ringgit level, it's the resistance. You can see there was a big shakeout in here way back 2nd of May. It broke through, came back up, and on the back of it, there seems to be benefiting on this MCO related theme, online buying. And the news is said that it has benefited from the 31st of October, 31st of March 2020, a quarterly net profit surge at 30% on the backdrop of it. But the question has always been, why isn't this share going any higher, right? Remember, a lot of the shares in Malaysia need to be retail kind of driven. A lot of the institutional has left. Remember, we said that before. Foreign funds are not coming out as much as they used to, right? And that's what they're rating. And right now, the retail participations are pretty poor. So you can see right now, this market couldn't break above the $2 mark that we see in here, all right? So this is what we've seen so far. So MYEG, can it go higher? Definitely, we want it to break through that 2 ringgit first. Of course, you can also use the trading plan in here and really plan out what you want to do. On the next news, along the theme, what we talk about server dynamics, which actually had a big impact to the oil and gas, and that seems to be dampen the sentiment in here. So right now, the research from Kedangan talk about only 2 pretty decent share are Bumi Abada and Usma in here, and the rest of it, if you look at Dialog, okay, let me just switch to a wider chart here for you, and you can see Dialog, right, which is one of the so-called barometer or bellwether of the oil and gas sector. And that's pretty much showing you where it is. If you look from the chart here, just switching a bigger chart, the market is somehow coming out down, trend down 10, down 10. Again, when to buy? Wait for the green pentagon. And in many ways, if you look at it, let's look at server dynamics, okay? And for those of you who listen to SMARTRobie, all right, wait for the green pentagon, right? Even though I have said time and time again, right, bearing in mind not knowing the fundamental behind it, because this kind of fundamental, typically management want to hide, and that's what they wanted to fire the auditor, right? In this PWTC, if you're not mistaken. They want to appoint another new auditor. So because of this kind of hiding, you don't know, right? Because what can I say? People lies, but chart don't lie. If you see from this chart in here, since way back in 21st of March, it already had red pentagon and then broke through the ATR stop loss. That's the red line on top and in there, and it continued to go. Now there are a lot of people saying that this is a good company. No doubt I agree, because the fundamental rating for SMARTRobie continue to be good. As I said before, all this reporting, transaction, return on equity, these are things that are submitted, and right now they has some sort of a reassessment to it may not be true, and that's why we see what we see this morning in here, a huge climatic volume that comes out, and you have that gap down again. But at least if you want to buy something, wait for that green pentagon. There wasn't any green pentagon, so you are not caught in this. In many ways, I always say before, good fundamental companies, you still need that green pentagon to come in to decide. And those of you who want to buy when it is yellow trend zone or even a red pentagon, please do it with a bit more caution. Know how to read the chart. Come to attend our masterclass in here. At least you don't get caught in something like that, which is very unfortunate of it. All right, I do know people, they did not cut loss. They say this is a long-term kind of thing. Again, you need to reassess back server dynamics because of the management style here, changing the auditor, which has never been a good thing, means shooting the messenger. All right, so take note about the so-called. Now let's take a look at the 2 stocks which is talk about the analysts in here. Usma, all right, UZMA, which is an oil and gas player. Okay, let's look at the stock chart in here, and you can see again, only Usma came out with the green pentagon. All right, so that does tell you this is possibly a chance to take a look at it. Let's look at Usma this morning here and the stock price. It's down slightly after a nice breakout yesterday in here. And what about the Bumi Amada, BUMI? Okay, just click on Amada, and you have stock comment and charts, and that one seems to be moving, congesting sideways in here. Now take a note, Bumi Amada, always, all things being equal, always look at the fundamental. At least buy something that is, making money. I do know Dialog is making one of the better fundamental companies. It's not as exciting as some of these stocks that you see on the site here. We tend to go up, go down in here. But if you look at what is the hot sectors, definitely healthcare and finance are those two. You can also check it out on the main menu. Hit that hot sector there, and you can see it's finance right now. Okay, that tells you, some of the likelihood stocks is going to make up will be the finance sector, followed by technology. That's how you want to sort of align. Okay, what we call align your stock trade idea, your idea along those very positive sector in here. All right, that's the idea. Oil and gas seems to be faded away. Now do take note, of course the news usually are late. All right, let's move on to our next story in here. Is no other than the auto sector. That's right. Now DRB Hycom being the father or owner of Proton and working with Geely, continue to produce good winners. As I said before, the X70 and X50 has done pretty well, and sales of it has reached 32,000 on the drop on the increasing 49% sales volume. You can see from the chart inside. That's certainly very, very good. And we know in the past that relationship Proton with Mitsubishi hasn't produced the kind of success that we see right now. Is this due to the nature of the design of the car and the pricing and the quality of it? Geely owning, I do believe also Volvo, right, if I'm not mistaken, and the kind of mindset that most Malaysians say, the owner Geely has Volvo, and you have this X70, they tend to look very resemblance. And do people buy it? I really don't know, but definitely there is some uncanny relationship that people tend to see. This is what we call a diluted version of a Volvo. Okay, but having said that, the revenue, right, continue to up because of the excise test that has been lifted up. So we do see the rising automotive trend, a record of 28% year on year. Because why? I do think that people can't travel, and as people can't travel, they want to buy a new vehicle, maybe just drive around in here. When I say travel, means travel outside of the country for holiday, and it's more like something that you do just to feel that you have achieved something, not able to travel. And that revenue definitely for DRB Hycom has achieved to 3.5. Let's take a look at the chart. Okay, so we can type DRB, hit that one, and you can see stock comments, stock charts in here. It is sort of still moving sideways. As I said before, our market hasn't really done that much yet. We did see a big green pentagon on the 21st May. That's the one that actually caused that market go. But I do think that DRB Hycom has some chance of going up. The foreign funds have to come in. This is not a typical mom and pop kind of share they want to buy. All right, you can look from here. This morning here, still holding up at 180. I think this is a good base. It will start to congest. Definitely you want to look at the livestock prices right now, which is 1% up in here. All right, so it is capitalizing on this. It's not one of those stocks that's going to move very fast, but check out the hot sector. We do know the tech sectors are back. I think one of you, Ray, did ask me to review great tech. And it's no surprise, usually when the sector start to move, a lot of these are queried by many of you, which posted down here. You'll probably be looking at Inari, looking at MPI, you're looking at JF Tech, and those are the emulous too, all right? Those will start to move up. So you want to do is align those sectors to this in here, all right? I hope what I say that makes sense. If I do, give me another thumbs up in here, all right? Okay, of course, let's shift our now attention to the US market. That's right. Now, the US market last night, the Dow Jones just closed at just 45 points up here, slightly up 0.13%. And the S&P is sort of staggered there, but S&P is still reaching almost all-time high. And there is a resistance. And right now, the market is correction and is pricing in inflation rising. That's right. All things being equal, usually market always okay, will have worried going higher. Right now, S&P is all-time high and Dow Jones is all-time high. So the fact that it's not able to break out, that is why you have this kind of news of inflation, which is good, right? Learn to understand bad news. Learn to understand uneasy news. I think that's one of the agenda we always talk about, being a train trader and a train investor, learning to appreciate this kind of bad news. If everybody like good news, right, that is the time where smart money take profit. Am I right? Right? So those of you who know that, right? Because we as humans, our psychology, our psychic is to want to have good news and good news. And on that pretense, many smart money use that to trick unsuspected public to actually buy. And that's what we had last year, you know, when the rubber glove was so good, everybody jumped in, including myself, no doubt about it, right? And the market also eventually do come back down. All right, so take note of that one. Now, on the further reflection of the US market, we want to take a look at also SMARTRobie US market in here. So you can switch over to S&P 500 here, and you're able to see this lot of tutorial here. And we're going to talk about Tesla this morning in here. Now, Tesla continued to be very interested. I think many of you have Tesla stock. Some of you do have it. It's not cheap, having said that. So we can go over to Robie chat in here. And of course, first thing I've talked about S&P 500. You can talk about here. You can see the chart that we have for S&P 500 is still green pentagon. You can see right now in here. So that's pretty decent, and that's pretty good, isn't it? S&P 500, as I said before, the 4250, the 4250 is going to be that kind of resistance. Breaking higher, you're going to bring a lot of this cars. And things going to move up more. Okay, now the question of this today is on Tesla. Now the report was quite interesting. One of the reasons why we say this is interesting is because there were news about the analysts saying that, look, in order Tesla to go higher, maybe they should do a stock split like in Malaysia, right? They should take a page from Malaysia playbook. And we have seen a lot of the stocks, every time when they split or they do bonus issue, the stocks goes up. I think QL did that. Press Metal did the same thing. That was very classic. Press Metal, I think hit about $10. Now should be about $11. They did a stock split. So the same thing now they're talking about Tesla. You know, Tesla is, I believe, just short of $700. So if you do a stock split, depending how much they split, and remember, Apple split, right? And Apple was about 600 plus, 400 plus. It split and then started to move up. I think the last time, according to this report, Tesla split actually in March 2020. So let's take a look at Tesla. So you just type TSLA, and again, during the time of right now, the charts won't be updated because the market just closed. SMARTRobie will be processing it, and usually at 4 p.m. local Malaysian time, it should be updated. If you not, do let us know. All right, so type in Tesla here. All right, and you can go on to the stock chart and stock comment in here. You can see Tesla, why we brought it up is that it actually hit a low base around 506. And that's really one of the wonderful thing about SMARTRobie. What we just learned in Malaysia, we can just translate it over. And guess what? This is a chance for you. Some of you wanted to earn US dollar. Hey, this is one. So how to open up US account, we will do this on another session in here. But right now, you can see the base there is around 560. Around 600, I think it's 600 in here. We did have green pentagon recently in here. So this news now is it's not confirmed yet, as I talk about, but the green pentagon has turned. All right, this is what we talked about earlier, Server Dynamic and some of the news. You want to really, participate earlier. Don't wait until they start to talk about it, confirm it, then you'll see profit taking. That's likely to be on around $700 in here. All right, so of course there are other things you can check it out. Definitely Tesla is not cheap. Check out the fundamentals on the right, on the trading plan in here, and there are many more of this SMARTRobie US. Do use it right now. It's for you, and we're going to be bringing another US market expert on the US side on this coming 26th of June. So watch out for that for our inauguration, for our launching our US SMARTRobie in here. All right, so that's all right, that's pretty much what I want to talk about on the US market, S&P 500. Of course, let's go back to Malaysia right now in here for our leaderboard past episode in here. And definitely, we have some winners. Right now, they're not much of a trend. As I said before, the KLSE really haven't been moving up in here. As such, we need to see more catalysts. The MCO 3.0, we do see the big rollout, the 380 billion, which is mentioned by our Prime Minister in here. They're going to be adding some more in here. Hopefully, that will spur the market to move a bit higher in here. So these are the past winners. Now let's take a look at the two trade idea that we did. way back in 19. Now do take note, last Wednesday we have our Wesak public holiday, so there wasn't any show. So we're going to be looking at T1. All right, so let's look at the T1 chart here, which first came out. All right. Now let's look at Heng Yuan being the chart here. So Heng Yuan, by the time we were interested, was on the 19, which is, oil and gas is still trending up, and then all of a sudden oil and gas flip. Why they flip? They follow the US market. If you want to see the US market, just go over to SMARTRobie, type Marathon Oil. There's a couple of oil stock in here. You can see very similar happening in there too. So you can see we have on the 20th of May, and we have a red pentagon, and every time red pentagon, that trend seems to die off. And we also had this recently for BAT. BAT been having a nice run up, then the red pentagon came out, and I think right now the trend may somehow be a bit over, and it's going to correct a bit. So you can see from here, Heng Yuan, just very similar to many of those stocks. So we talk about Bumi Armada, Usma, and Saber Danring. They're having tough time in here. If this is on the, let's say, okay, switching to the hourly chart on the 19th of May, okay, 19th of May, which is somewhere around here. The market did pop back down here, 550, 530. We were talking about somewhere less than maybe 5% down in here for this market. It is what it is right now because of the perception on the oil and gas is going to. But overall, again, going back to your idea, it is a red pentagon. If you have this trade, you need to cut loss. All right, I think that's important to able to rotate out and in consistently for that matter. All right, let's take a look at the next stock that we have is T1, which is a packaging company. There were a couple of talks earlier on which actually had it where the CEO and the earnings did came out, so it's holding up nicely here. I do think the earnings are pretty decent. You have a nice uptrend in here. Still green pentagon. Now take note, on the 19th of May was somewhere around here. We did have the big sell-off that we have in here, but it did not trigger the red pentagon. It did trigger the red pentagon, but it did not fall below the ATR stop loss. So there wasn't a need to cut loss. Unlike the just now Heng Yuan, it closed below the ATR stop loss. ATR stop loss always use the higher one. That seems to be much better in here. So right now it's around 267 in here. It does looks pretty rosy. You can check out some of the fundamental news out there that continue to give T1, a packaging company, plastic packaging company, should do pretty well during this MCO 3.0. All right. There was another question someone did ask me. We will look at some of the stocks that you have. All right. Let's move on to what we have next is the sectors. All right. Okay. Now this week, for our trade idea, 2nd of June, we're already on the second half of the episode 76, is the CIMB. Now take note, earlier on the hot sectors I talked about in here. Let me just switch back to Malaysia, hit the KLSE, hit SMARTRobie, and you hit the hot sectors here. And you can see finance just above me. Seems to be the hotter one. Okay, so look at CIMB here. So you can see CIMB, since green pentagon have popped up in here, it's going to retest back the old high. And take note, KLSE, which is what we talk about in here, has 32% of finance. So if you have your CIMB moving, your Maybank moving, your public bank moving, it is very likely that the KLSE is going to move up and break around the 1620. However, it is going to be very sporadic because the banking sectors and the healthcare represent 49% of our KLSE, right? That means the KLSE may move up. All your small cap stocks that most of you usually trade may not move up. So it is what we call a less broad market, a less broader market movement. Of course, a wider market movement, a broad market movement is better, where the blue chips are up, the small caps are up, the mid caps are up. That's good, right? But take note, this is some sort of a hint that I give to you that the blue chip may be going up, but the rest of the stocks doesn't move up in here. Again, this sector is very important. So CIMB is our trade idea for today, which is the 2nd of June, episode 76. All right. So let's take a look at the next one is FPI, Formosa, Prosonic, they make speakers in here, a Taiwanese company in here. Green Pentagon, this is very classic. You got NS, you got Spring, and right now the market started to move up. So this is something classic. We used to teach a lot in our masterclass, and we're still doing now classic patterns in here. Check it out in here, and something when we get to our slide later on, this is the chart that usually we think. Right now there's a resistance at 290 in here. We need to see the price reaction breaking through this resistance and the market to go up. We do have volume coming in right now. Just be a bit careful of the climatic volume that we see here, but overall I think this should able to move up higher going forward. All right, so let's move on to the next section of our presentation here for our breakfast show. Of course, we want to do some news discovery, switching to in here, and let's look at the KLSE news sentiment. So the KI news sentiment is turning very positive. You can see that SMARTRobie gauging higher and opening market sentiment, KLSE, and you have AZRB negative, Pentagon is red, M Steel, okay, shareholders, okay, Malaysia Air Asia XCAT shareholder go ahead. Advancon win 20 million earthwork, okay, that's some W. Valesto slip into red, and that's why it's red, okay. So that's a little bit of news discovery, whether it's worthwhile to trade them or not. Perhaps you may want to look at M Steel 5098. I think the steel movement earlier on has subsided. That's right, we see what we see here, right? And as soon as the red Pentagon break below the ATR stop, everything seems to kind of stops. Of course, there are other stocks that hold much better. Is Press Metal, which is traded at $5, one of the better stocks inside here. Okay, let's move on to our next section. This is the thing that our latest update from our Pentagon Guider fixed rules trading portfolio. We were previously in 15%. We have to cut loss in order to trade, but we're still holding up at 12.2%, and we just initiated a new trade called DNEX last week, and that was Dagangnet. I think let's check out Dagangnet this morning in here. It's holding up nicely in here. That is the only trade that we have so far, Dagangnet, right, on Green Pentagon in here, and we're just waiting for it to break out next. So something that you know right now, Dagangnet, if we do break out and hit our good profit, then this score that you see on the right hand side should be, but if you compare that to the KLSE minus 2%, we are still pretty good from January to May. So take note of this. This is real time, real money trading right now in here. All right, so we already done the hot sector just now, so we're just going to move on in here. And this is precisely the chart that we share with you. And this is what we want Dagangnet to do. Just go straight, continue to go up, and that will be definitely the kind of trade that we want to see in here. Okay, and of course, this is a QR code in here. We will come to the part, and also we will be doing our June intake for our masterclass. And those of you who have express your interest in here, check us out in here. And definitely this weekend, this is the QR code. Join us for our special talk, achieving above average return for 2021. So we're going to showcase to you how we did the 12.2% so far for up to May compared to KLSE minus 2.8%. That is indeed what we call above average return, isn't it, right? And we're going to be showing you some ways, even looking at the US market and the Malaysian market. Right now, I just share with you, Tesla just turned green, Pentagon. In many ways, I think we as investor and trader, we need to up our skill, right? When the time comes, we need to improve our skill, improve our accessibility. I think that's also important. Again, going back to the agenda of train trader and train. We don't want to be always the little mouse here trying to find where is the thing. We want to step in and be on top of things. I think that's very important. Definitely on this Saturday, we will talk about a lot of those issues and how you can able to achieve above average return if that is your agenda, right? And definitely do join us here, and that will be this Saturday, 2 to 4:30 p.m. Of course, tonight we'll be also talking about the Malaysian market and the US market in here. So for the month of June, we'll be talking a lot more about the US market. Definitely tonight, when the US market open 9:30, we will be looking at US 9:30 live trading in here, perhaps seeing what kind of shares that you can get for less than 10,000 US, and with the 10,000 ringgit. What kind of strategy you want to use, whether it is trading, whether it's shorter term, intraday, or longer term investing, something that fits everybody here. So join me tonight at 9:30 on our live FB in here. Of course, right now we're going to move on to the section that most of you have questions about the stocks that you have. Some of you have Valesto, some of you have Hibiscus, some of you have Great Tech, JF Tech, that kind of thing. We will look at them right now. Of course, if you think that we have done a pretty good and decent show for you, do give us a Google review and on our Apple review for our SMARTRobie here, and we appreciate your support that you've given for us so far. All right, right now we're going to be looking at Great Tech. This is for Mr. Ray here. So Great Tech still looks good. You know, you can see green pentagon in here. As long as green pentagon, blue trend zone above the ATR stop loss, hold. Right? That's why we make it, especially those of you who starting out, this is something very simple. Now, those of you, of course, wanted to up your skill, definitely you want to consider our masterclass, which we talk about this weekend in here. So that looks pretty decent. Next, we have, okay, on this side, XPEY, XPEY. Okay, XPeng, oh, that's a US share, isn't it? XPeng. Okay, we'll come to the US share tonight. All right, let's go to the MBSP. Okay, MBSP, again, green pentagon above ATR stop loss. No problem in here. This is a good one. Again, you want to enter just after the green pentagon, the opening prices inside here. Not really an issue. If you haven't entered yet, go over to trading plan for SMARTRobie. Check that one out. All right, because the finance now seems to be doing much better in here. All right, the earnings. Let's hope it'll take out from 65 cents. And do take note, you know, the banking stock has come down for a bit, holding up this nice support, and we will call this what? You remember what is this called? It is a technical pattern in here. Check it out later. I'll tell you more this coming weekend. So make sure you join me this weekend. All right. Next we have. Let's move on to the other side. Some of you want me to look at. Okay. Let's take a look at Server Dynamics. Okay. Now also Server Dynamics has also had a bond downgrade. Okay, a bond downgrade. And this is what happened yesterday. The market opened up, did hit high, close back up. So usually the market sort of, you know, very similar to Top Glove at one point where they had that issue with one of the company they have bought. The market came down. It's going to move sideways for a while, dip one more round, and then push back up higher. But how long, we really don't know. Usually that kind of recovery can take about 3 to 6 months. That kind of trade. So if you have this chart that you don't intend to cut loss, do have a time frame 6 to 9 months, 6 to 8 months kind of thing. You just have to hold on to it. That's why it's important to diversify, or at least have a trading plan only to go in when you see green pentagon. All right, that's also important in here. All right, Hibiscus. Okay, Hibiscus, same thing lah. I think it's the same thing with Heng Yuan. Wait for the green pentagon. It doesn't just follow the rules, all right? Doesn't take a genius to do that. I think many of you would have known it. The question is, where can I find more shares? As I said before, if there isn't much in here, do you want to consider other markets? That's why we have the SMARTRobie here, right? Check it out. There are trading plans here. And of course, there is a lot of fear going overseas. I can understand that. You know, this is the first time, or your amount is not, you know, may not be enough. That's what we talk about, using 10,000 US dollar tonight to talk about trading. All right, so join me tonight at 9:30. So we're going to talk more about that. There are a lot of ideas in here. You can hit that one. Let me just hit the trending idea. Sorry. Okay, you can see Pentagon Guider here, right? And there are many chops, Nasdaq, PXD, Extra, Darden, Restaurants and Consumer, many of these stocks in S&P 500. To let me know what you think about Robie S&P 500 US. Okay, let's take a look at other shares that you all may want me to look at. MBSB, okay, Hibiscus. If you do have, just pencil in there. I'll be happy enough to look at it, because TradingView, have you seen before, this chart that you have, it works for the US market. It's the same and very familiar platform also for the SMART. Of course, we can also move to the Singapore market. That's what you see on top there in here. Okay, we'll wait for 1 or 2 more shares for you to want me to review those. All right. So if not, we're going to just move on to the later part of it. Now, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube. That's right. So you not to miss out any of our video tutorial that we put out in here, right? Lots of good ideas. And don't forget to submit your best stock trade idea from SMARTRobie in here, and our iPad free giveaway during this campaign month for the best trade idea in here. Check out the email on your inbox on the SMARTRobie apps in here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our Telegram chat room for all information that is educational in here. And do share this with your friend and colleague so they would learn a lot of educational material, especially right now. The US market is booming. Why don't we take advantage of this? All right, with that, I will close. Oh yes, we have another one just came in on Ta'an Plantation. Now take note, plantation is not in the hot sector right now. All right, so a lot of problem is people don't follow the trend enough. They follow what they feel they like to. Okay, right now Ta'an is moving sideways. Okay, you got a lot of springs inside here. It's not moving up, hasn't hit the ATR stop loss, but do take note, it has moved up, came back down. It hasn't gone up because the crude oil prices has also retreated from the old high, and that's what's happening to the Ta'an in here. It's not going forward, but right now the hot sectors, right now I just shared with you, the finance is the one. So learn to shift this kind of thinking. I think this is important. If you're not educate yourself, elevate your skills. All right, of course there's a lot of fear, a lot of trading psychology. Okay, we have another one here called Steve. Want me to take a look at INSAS. All right, these are okay. Now remember, INSAS is a parent company for Inari. That looks pretty good. You got a green pentagon in here, but you take note, the INSAS really hasn't been one of those shares that actually move up. It has green pentagon distribution. You got an old resistance inside here. If you look at these shares, the best they have done was only in $1, and then it came back to 82 cents. Will this go higher? We don't know yet, but definitely we have a green pentagon in here. Let's hope that this share is going to push up, but my take is based on the chart that we have read so far, this kind of stocks tend to hit a resistance, and that resistance is going to be the 87.5 cents, and profit taking will happen. It's not one of those shares that really move up in tandem with the sector, overall sector. This is a conglomerate. Having said that, a big part of it in Inari. I think my best take is buy Inari. I do think that INSAS and Inari move in tandem. Yeah, you see that, right? They move in tandem. Get Inari will be better. All right, you can see this is a much better share compared to it. Okay, I think I've reviewed all the shares. Thank you for coming, and thank you for spending your time, especially doing the MCO 3.0 with us. And I'll see you tonight at 9:30 for our live FP talk. Bye bye.